does this please my parents? Yes, no, Or my name is Tyler Ho. I'm like first, second generation, but I moved in when I was 5. We kind of grew up in like a one apartment, one bedroom sort of household. So
Cut.
so cut this call out then.
Yep. I want to dive deeper into your story. What do you think your family has given you in terms of like strength and who you are today?
I think growing up, my parents really stressed on like education. My parents made like a really good effort into trying to give as much experience as they can with the limited amount of money that they could like
Yeah.
afford.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. Taught me sort of to put everything into something. My mom really pushed me in that sense. And like if I have a task to do, I sit down and I complete it. I'd like to think that like if I say I'm gonna complete something, I do, and then I try and go above and beyond. It made me sort of the person that I am today in that I like to think things through before committing to an action. I want to know sort of all the possible results that could happen before making a decision.
Yeah.
And then my brother's like the opposite of me for some reason. I think he like grew up a little bit different, and I think my parents let go of him a little bit so that he's more like, oh, like if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it, and like find out the consequences later. Whereas I'm more like what are the consequences now?
plan.
Yeah, I need a
Yeah.
plan. I want a schedule. That comes with a pro and a con, right? Because con of it would be like I don't want to use the word timid, but it comes into my brain for some reason. Where it's like if I want to do something for me, I'm like no, but like my mom wouldn't like it, or like my dad would disagree with that, and things like that. And I feel like that's gotten a lot, or like that's blocked me in various ways growing up in like pursuing things that I want to pursue, right? For example, I think I really wanted to play basketball. I have some like elementary friends that like all play basketball, and they were like in club basketball, and then my parents were like, no, like swimming is a sport. Swimming, you won't get injured.
Yeah. My
It's
parents
like
said the same
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
My
yeah.
parents said the
It's
same
not like
thing.
not a full contact sport.
Yeah.
But then like right now, I'm like I would have enjoyed basketball so much more because I play basketball a lot now, and I
Yeah.
rarely swim, but like I still like enjoy swimming.
Yeah.
Like,
That is
that
something
was like a missed experience, Like,
I
and
realize
was
that
like,
too.
dang. Yeah.
From being a swimmer, I think it's like yeah, swim is such a lonely thing. You don't really
Yeah,
get to do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And now that like we're graduated and we're working like basketball and other of those more interactive sports is such a great way to like build friends, build communities. Plus, it's like there's a more of a competitive edge to it.
Right.
Rather like swim is like you're competing against yourself. So I think that's funny.
Yeah.
I want to like kind of go back because you mentioned that you feel timid in a sense, like that's the way you describe yourself whenever you're presented with either new decisions or something that you want to tackle.
Yeah.
Is it because, and then you mentioned how like you're often worried about like your parents and like what they view about the situation, and you're kind of seeking their approval before a go ahead.
Yes.
Is their opinion a huge factor as to how you want to move forward with your life and your decisions? Or when you say that I need to kind of step back and research and do my analysis and think about all the different outcomes, is that in relation to just how you feel, or are you kind of bringing into consideration how everyone feels because you grew up in such in a certain way?
Right.
And
Yeah. So I do think that like other people's opinions do affect my decision in the end. And it relates back to sort of pleasing my parents because I feel like I owe them something, right?
Yeah.
Like growing up, like seeing how much they worked, like during
Sacrifices,
the
all that
sacrifice
stuff,
that they took, like during like Costco hours, she would like my mom would like sneak her medical books just to like read and then like also serve the samples. So and it's like I feel like that's something that I'm never going to experience, and if I was her age, like right now, like would I be able to do that? Move to a different country, don't really know the language, study in that language, and like provide for a family? It's like probably not. And like they did it basically for their children, which was me and Steven or Afu at the time, right?
Yeah.
So there is a sense of like, oh, like I want to give them what they gave me, and because of that, I need to like seek their approval.
I see. But what they gave you, I guess, is a better opportunity. I feel like I don't know, this is like out of pocket, but in their time, it's like they're trying to do what's best for their children and
Right.
being the best parents that they can be.
Right.
And so I guess you're taking that more holistically and you're saying, I want to try to be the best son I can be.
Yeah.
And what that means that sometimes is saying no to my own needs or saying no to certain things because
Right.
I guess having their approval is kind of in line with being a good son. Because I always find that like a little bit interesting is like there's this concept of, is there a difference between respect and obedience?
Right.
And I think that's something that I'm currently like thinking about and dealing with is us growing up, there was this notion of like respect equating to obedience. Like if you respected your parents, if you respected any individual, you would just listen to them. I don't know if there's a finer line of like, you can respect them and you can respect their opinions and what they have to say, but like if you have a different opinion,
Right.
your job is to really fully listen to their concerns, fully listen to where they're coming from, and then kind of evaluate everything with the complexities of your own life and your direction where you want to go, their life where they've come, and then making a decision from there. Whereas like obedience is like straight up, like if they said, you know, go to point A, then you're like, okay, I'm gonna go to point A.
Right.
And so,
Right.
do you feel like you struggle with that, or like if that's kind of something you think about sometimes?
I definitely do struggle with that. But I think I've grown in that department, or not only me, but my mom too. I think our relationship got better, where it's just like it's not that she tells me to do something and then I do it. It's more like a conversation now.
Yeah.
Unlike, my mom would tell me to do something and I would ask why first before I like say, okay, I'll do it. Things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
I feel like that's definitely the way to go. It's like
Mm-hmm.
being able to really just like be candid,
Right.
be honest with your parents about your situation, how you actually feel about
Right.
the whole thing. And I generally find that everyone's like super understanding. I mean, they're your parents, you guys are like family, and so it's like
Yeah.
there's no one out there to really like
Mm-hmm.
harm you and stuff. So that's always really good.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
When did you like recently start feeling about this stuff? Have you like always thought about this throughout growing up, or has it kind of come into like realization like recently?
So I think during like college, it was like rough because I didn't have a major and like I already had junior standing or something because I did running start.
Yeah.
So like it kind of pushed me forward. And during running start, that was one of the things where it's like, this will get my mom was like, do running start, like this will get you ahead in college. And then I do it and I'm like, yeah, this is getting me ahead in college. And I enter freshman year and I'm like, I don't know what I want to do.
And now I'm so fast.
Yeah, and then I'm like already like sophomore standing, and then my mom actually was like, "Oh, like you only have to do 2 years of college," and I took 3 instead because I was like trying
Still
to figure
figuring
things out.
Yeah.
And when I said that, like, oh, I'm probably gonna take another year, my mom was like so sad and like mixed emotions.
What
right?
was
Like,
running
sad,
start for?
mad, angry. She was
Oh,
like,
no.
"You're wasting your time. Like, you're taking all these like extra credits for like humanities and stuff." And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing either, right? Like, but yeah, that was like a hard time for me. And that like during that, after college, when I graduated, I was like jobless for a bit. And then that was like also a struggle point in my mom and like me during our relationship.
Like a
just 'cause-
tension point.
Yeah, because my mom was like, well, like, why did you go to school and like graduate early if you're not gonna get a job for like a year or like something like that, right?
Yeah.
So, no, that was tough. I think things got better when I like started to pick things up and like interview and stuff, and she saw that I was like actually working. I don't think I share my feelings a lot with like people. This already is like kind of nerve-wracking.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
But I especially don't share feelings with my parents, like especially at that time, which I'm trying to change. I'm talking more openly with my parents now, but I think there was like a misunderstanding of like, are you actually trying, or like, why are you feeling the way you're feeling? Like, why are you like the imposter syndrome of like, I did graduate college, but like I still don't have a job and like I don't know what I'm still doing, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say like within that time you were trying it's just like your efforts weren't being recognized, or like she didn't
Right.
really know that you were trying.
Right.
And so it's kind of a miscommunication at that point. But then when interviews started popping up and you were like, oh, I have to like,
Yeah.
go do this and that.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, okay, he's taking care of it. Because I would assume it comes from a place of love or concern of like,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that my son who went through all this schooling
Mm-hmm.
is like not slipping up that opportunity that we worked so hard to give him.
Right.
And so was it just kind of a miscommunication at that point, or did you feel like it was like a kick in the butt that you needed to get into the right track?
I think there was a lot of miscommunication during that time because I wasn't really talking to my parents either. I was in a pretty bad state because I think like I see all my friends and they're like working their tech jobs, they got internships in their pockets, and I like had to graduate early and didn't really have those internships in my back pocket and things like that. So yeah, no, I tried really hard after I graduated to like get interviews, but then there was like this like state of like numbness of like, dang, like I tried so hard and I still like didn't get a job, and like they like I'm like, oh, like the world just doesn't want me or something. And then there was this like sadness of like 2 months of just like doing nothing, and that was the peak, like the worst point between my mom and I. And I think there was like this one night where like I just like spilled out what I just told you to my mom, and then that's when she was like, oh, like
Oh.
I think my mom thought like, oh, like I'm just making it worse for him, you know?
Oh no.
Yeah. But then like after that point, like she like gently pushed me to like sort of apply more in areas.
She added more of that mother's touch to
Yeah.
you applying for a job yet? It's like, you applying for a job yet?
It's like, you want some food?
Okay, that's actually,
yeah, you want some
that's
food?
so
Like,
great.
let's sit down and eat. And it's like, so how's the job hunt? You
It's
know?
like you're prepping for an interview and she's like,
yeah.
cut some apples for you.
Yeah, the fruits.
Yeah. If you could look back and give that younger you
Mm-hmm.
a piece of advice
Mm-hmm.
of like the job search, because I know it's like that's so relevant for so many people, whether you're like a student, whether you recently been let go, or going through unemployment is a tough time mentally, situational wise. You're already questioning whether like why did you get let go or why can't you find a job, and so it's a mentally hard space. Like I went through something similar when graduating COVID, and then job offers got rescinded. And I just remember like you get into this comparison mindset of like, this person has this, I don't have this, and therefore I'm not good, or therefore I'm not, living life as best as I could. And then it can get kind of toxic in yourself, where you're just constantly putting yourself down, and you're constantly looking at others like having it well and not really seeing the big picture of things. And so if you could tell that younger Tyler something, or person out there, what would it be?
If I had advice to give, not to just like my college self, but even like younger, like middle school, elementary, like way back, I think I would tell him to be a little bit more vocal about what you want, and like don't suppress that side of yourself. Because I remember growing up, this is a crazy story, but like growing up, like we were at Costco, and then my dad was like, it was my birthday, and then my dad was gonna buy me like a Game Boy because I really wanted a Game Boy, and then that's also when the DS came out.
I got okay, keep going. Sorry.
Okay. And then my dad was like, why don't you buy this one? Like this one is like newer and like has 2 screens. But like I like understood the predicament that we were in, of like one apartment and like not enough money, and I just felt like I didn't want to stress my parents even further because I knew the predicament they were in. And I was like, no, I just want the Game Boy. But like knowing that I knew I wanted the DS. But I was like, no, like the Game Boy's fine. Like I just want the Game Boy. So I got the Game Boy instead. I just like rocked that for like a few years before like the DS got cheaper.
Oh, that's so funny.
But like no, my brother was super different. And I don't know if it was like the way he was raised, where my brother would just be like, I want that. It's like, give me that one. It's like no, it's too expensive. It's like, why? But and I was like, oh, so annoying. Like, come on, like you gotta understand. Like, I'm your older brother and things like that. But yeah, I some advice: just be a little bit more vocal about what you want. Like, think about those emotions more rather than just like suppressing it right away and being like, that's not right now. I think, people want what they want for a reason, and I think you gotta think that through before you just say, no, it's not right, or like my parents wouldn't like that, or things like that.
Yeah, and things will work out, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the idea of like suppressing emotions is very common,
Mm-hmm.
at least in myself. When I look back, is you'll feel certain things,
Yeah.
and then because you're trying to think for others, you're trying to be in the shoes of other people, like your parents.
Yeah.
You change the way you feel on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
and then you suppress it, and you think that it's gonna go away, but then it either doesn't go away or it kind of manifests,
back,
and then
yeah.
it comes back even stronger, where you're like, hey, you didn't listen to me, and now like you're emotionally like hurt and stuff like that. And so that's so funny. But I also got a DS the same time. Like I wanted a Game Boy, but then the DS was coming out soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess my mom made the decision for me.
Oh,
She
okay.
returned the Game Boy. So I opened my Game Boy on Christmas and I was so happy.
Yeah.
And then she was like, I'm going to return this though. And I was like, why? And she was like, because the DS is coming out in like another month.
Yeah.
And it's probably better. And then I was like, oh, I was so upset. I was like, I just want the Game Boy. It's like blue. It's my favorite color.
Yeah.
And then I think in that way, that memory for me was a lesson about delayed gratification, because once the DS came out, I was like, oh, this is so much better than the Game Boy.
It can play Game Boy games.
It can do both. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I remember many nights playing under the pillow and like sneaking it into my room so I could just like destroy my eyes on all those games. I just want to thank you again for doing this. I know you don't share your emotions a lot, let alone like doing it on this platform or publicly. And so this whole idea basically is, before I was doing a lot of videos with like my monologues.
Yeah.
But one of the things was like I felt weird making that kind of content.
Why?
Like it was a struggle for me to like walk out in public with my camera and be like, okay, I'm gonna put this down here and I'm gonna run over there and then I'm gonna pretend to walk and like act like I don't see the camera. And that was really hard.
Yeah.
And so I felt like at one point it became more of like a chore to make those types of videos.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that I have a lot of cool friends and I enjoy talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be a great opportunity to have them share out what they learned and kind of have it be like a time capsule.
Yeah.
We're going to be such different people in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years time. And we never really get a chance to look back. Like, unless you're a vlogger, you're not recording your thoughts every day, but maybe you are like in a journal or something. But I think having this kind of platform for people to just show up, talk about their life in some sort of way, it's meaningful to not only like us as friends, but I would assume that many people are going through similar things in their life and that they can find value from this conversation of some way, like that they can relate back to themselves. So that's like the whole goal. It's like a time capsule project for me and my friends, and also hopefully finding good impact somewhere out there.
I think that's like a good idea, because I actually went back to one of like the old messenger groups and we like looked at some of the old photos and we were like, what were we thinking? There's like some videos of like some of my friends that were like kind of skinny back then and they were like flexing the mirror and now it's just like cringy. So it's like ammunition, I saved those to my phone recently. So like
ammunition,
yes. Like I sent it back to them and it's like, we just like to look back at it. So it's just funny,
The longer you are friends with someone, the more they've seen your phases. I had like a Goku hair phase, I've had like a man bun phase, and then now here, but even like not like physically wise, but also trait wise and stuff. And so I agree. I think that's pretty funny. I think you shared a lot about what it means to kind of be that older brother. I felt a lot of older brother vibes from you in terms of when you're giving advice and being vocal. It's like you've taken on a lot of sacrifices yourself because you've seen your parents do the same.
Right.
And I think that's gotten you very far. And so I'm just like happy for you. And I don't know if there's anything else you want to add.
One last thing I'd like to add is I think college has like made me explore my emotions a lot more. I think like just like growing up, I was just like basically a calculator or like a decision tree of like, does this please my parents? Yes, no, or like Like, will this make me more money in the future? Yes, no, things like that. But in college, I like branched out a little more. I made good friends that like are more in tune with their emotions and can voice their opinions a little bit more. And I think you've helped me grow a lot too.
No,
So
appreciate it.
that. Yeah.
I don't know, these conversations are always what excites me, and so glad to have more of these.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. Well, thank you so much
Of course.
for hopping on the show. I don't know how to end this because this is the first time we're doing this. Okay, we'll just wave at the camera and just say bye.
Bye.